Great. So let me share the slides with you quickly for the training. Also, if anybody is new to the Enneagram, because this is the work that we do, and you don't know what your Enneagram type is, please pop your name and email address to me directly in the chat group, and we can send you an Enneagram assessment link and also an opportunity to meet one of our coaches for a debrief. Then, if you are interested in training in the Enneagram that can support your coaching or therapy or facilitation practice, those are our dates. Our next one is in August, and then we've got October and December as well. Level 2 works with our maturity framework. So those are the upcoming dates. And if you have any inquiries, please email accreditations@aephoriagroup.com, or easier, you can just pop me a message in the chat box. And then also, what is new on our radar is the advanced maturity supervision sessions. This is specifically for our level 2 trained coaches. Our session kicked off this month. Our first session, it was really great and successful. We had a full house. There are 3 seats available for our August session. It is 350 Rand per session, or $35. And there are 2 sessions in August. There's one in September, October, and November. You don't have to sign up for all of them. You can do and select which ones you like. Visit our website at evoke.com under events. If you want more information, you're also welcome to send me a message in the chat. So those are the announcements for today. We are very excited, or I'm very excited to have Hani here to play for a little bit today, Hani. We're going to look at your cards and experience this beautiful creation of yours. And with that, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks so much, Reese. Lovely to see you all here, particularly so many friendly faces. Lovely that you showed up and that you're curious about this card deck. So I am excited to share it with you. And when we were talking about, what is the best way to share, we agreed that it's far better to show than tell. So we're going to make sure that today is an opportunity for you to actually experience the cards, to experience what they offer. And that means today is going to be an invitation for you to bring yourself and something you're grappling with at a crossroads maybe that you're facing. So the invitation is going to be for courage. It is going to be for showing up fully as yourself and for engaging each other, trusting that we're a community of support. So, yeah, there are many people on here that I don't know, and I remember Cherise said, say something about yourself. So let me do that. I do work as an associate coach to Aephoria as well, particularly in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And these cards are actually born out of my experience as somebody who grew up in South Africa under the apartheid regime in a fairly conservative Muslim family, really struggling to find my voice. And my parents will disagree that I struggled to find it. They have it. I was always having something to say, but experiencing being heard is very different to just having something to say. And I think my life's work has been about grappling with how do we support and empower that not only are we able to voice ourselves without standing in our victimhood, and at the same time, how do we create spaces where others experience the safety and freedom for their self-expression and thereby their belonging? And that's what the intention is. So I've called it Cornerstones of Conversation and Connection for that reason. That I suppose I should declare as well, I'm Enneagram 479 with an Essex instinct. So that craving for connection is another lifelong striving and yearning, and probably very much what's rooted in these cards. So let's kick off the session, but I want to start by inviting us all to just slow down and be here and be present. I think we'll do that by giving ourselves a few moments just to breathe. So I'm going to take us to that slide where I'm going to ask you to just settle into your seat, feet on the ground, maybe hands resting in your lap, shoulders at ease, and just take your attention to your breath. And as you feel your exhale, just pay attention to slowing it down. And maybe just notice if there are things you want to release that you may have been holding on to from your previous conversations or meetings or activities that you want to give yourself permission to let go of. Notice your body. Is there any tightness sitting in your body that you may want to release by moving or taking your breath there? Is there any heat in your body that's drawing your attention? Allow your muscles to relax and hang from your bones. See if you can feel the breath into your belly. And I'd like you to take your attention to your heart chakra and set an intention for the time we'll spend together today. A time of connection. What crossroads that you're facing could you bring to this conversation with the intention of getting clarity and ease and some freedom? You could open yourself up, open the heart space to receiving what there is to receive in the connections you build today, in the conversations we have, and in the vulnerability and the courage that you bring. And the intention then to leave with something more than you arrived with. So you can open your eyes and get present maybe to the room and the various people in the room. If I can invite those who are here to put their cameras on so we can have a human-to-human conversation. It's always lovely to be encouraged by each other's faces and eyes and smiles, if you have one. So we want to start the conversation by the intention to get value and the understanding that at any given moment, if we were to reflect on our lives, we would recognize you're standing at a crossroads. And it may be a big one or a small one. Maybe it's one we've been avoiding and taking detours. And maybe it's one we didn't maybe give enough time to presence ourselves to before. But this is an invitation to bring whatever crossroads you're standing at forward and to share a little bit about what's the crossroads you're at in your life today, this week, this month, now. And we're going to ask you to go into breakout rooms. And for the purpose of the session, so just to preface this with, usually we draw cards when I'm sitting in person with people. You'll have the opportunity to draw the cards yourself. And we needed to navigate that obstacle for Zoom. So we're letting Zoom draw your cards in a sense by putting you in breakout rooms, which have already been allocated cards. So the intention that's there is, I think, the thing that's going to guide you. But for this conversation, we're going to put you in breakout groups of 3. Zoom will automatically allocate that. Sharice is synced to the breakout room. And this is the question. You'll be in the breakout room for about 15 minutes. So each person should have at least 5 minutes to share the crossroads they're at, what the experience is like. And I understand, as Peter Block says, when it asks this question of crossroads, it is an anxiety-inducing question. And the idea of the anxiety-inducing question is it gets us real, vulnerable, courageous, and connected very quickly. So given that this is a community of coaches, I'm counting on that that's something you're up for, and that you'll bring it to the conversation. So take a moment to think about what that is, but when you're in the room, please share freely, fully trusting that you're being listened to. And when someone is sharing, just bring your delicious attention to the person. Listen with compassion and curiosity. And when it's your turn, be as courageous and vulnerable or up the bar. That's also okay. And we'll meet back after 15 minutes. So, Sharice, will you send people to the breakout rooms, please?
Fantastic. Thanks, Hani. Somebody's just dropped off, so I'm going to just quickly move things around. I'm going to open the rooms, and you have 15 minutes, so 5 minutes each to share. We'll do a little nudge to say when it's 5 minutes and time to change. See you shortly.
Welcome back. We're hoping that the fact that you waited until the room threw you out is a positive sign that connection is in play. So thank you for sharing yourselves and the crossroads that you're at. Sharice and I were having a similar conversation, so don't worry, we haven't excluded ourselves at all. And interesting to see what opens up. But you may, as you're listening to each other already, have noticed that as we are in conversation, it's not only speaking and listening that's at play. Part of what's necessary is releasing. What is there to let go of? And immediately, when you meet someone for the first time, and you may have sat with an assumption about what their crossroads is possibly going to be or where it's going to take them, there's releasing assumption, there's releasing those views, there's releasing those immediate judgments that automatically happen for a human being. But there are all kinds of things that we could be releasing that allows for greater connection in a conversation, in as much as another cornerstone of conversation is holding. What do we hold space for? How do we hold the safety of the space as we listen? How do we hold the sacredness of someone sharing themselves with us? And so that's a key cornerstone. And this navigating this, what allows connection, exploring that is what brought me to this cornerstone of holding, cornerstone of releasing, besides the cornerstone of speaking and listening. But that is essentially what the card deck is about. And I'd like to introduce you to some of the card deck before we take this further in the next breakout room session. So let's go into the card deck. So this is really what the card deck looks like as a black box. It's got a pouch of crystals in it, It's a deck of 56 cards with some cards that help you to use them, that guides you through using them. Um, and essentially, it's about allowing you to develop being a master connector. But for this session, I also want you to explore, to think about what does it allow for in your practice as a coach or as a facilitator, in accelerating trust when you're working with individuals and when you're working with groups, and deepening the self-awareness, deepening how people have the opportunity to see themselves and their situation or their circumstance or their crossroads through a different lens. And that's the intention behind the cards, that allows people to presence themselves to the situation in a new way, in a different way, bringing a consciousness to the exploring of the issue. But certainly with teams, and we'll talk later about what's opened up when using it with teams, it's a fantastic way to accelerate trust building and to have people be in a space of openness and sharing very quickly in the session. So I mentioned the holding card or the holding suite. And this could be, the reason we played that song about possibility at the beginning is the invitation is that any challenge we're faced with, um, does also hold the possibility of something new, the possibility of something that can be created. And we can hold space for that possibility. But we can hold space if we hold discovery or lightness or humor even. Um, and so there are 12 cards in the holding suite, as with any of the others as well. The release suite as well allows us to let go of whether it's the past, whether it's our judgment, our bias, our prejudice, our fears, our attachment, because sometimes we're at a crossroads and the reason we're stuck there is because there's a certain way we wanted to go and we're not willing to be in discovery. We're not willing to be curious. And so releasing the things that may be blocking us to exploring more fully is what this deck is about. And of course, there are 12 cards in that suite as well. And then we get to listening and different contexts that we can hold for listening. And that allows us to really connect to our deep humanity, that allows us to experience compassion with each other, to allow us to experience compassion with ourselves even. And I think that's the starting point, is how do we use it first to hear ourselves differently? And then speaking. I remember early on in my coaching days, somebody, I called myself a conversations or communication coach, and somebody said to me, I know just how to give people a piece of my mind, and there's no need for me to have a communications coach. And I thought, oh my word, imagine we were stuck with understanding that communication is all about knowing what I've got to say. Um, and so this thing about mindful speaking, being conscious as a communicator, being someone who can hold a context in our speaking that allows for fairness or inclusion or playfulness, that allows for openness and transparency and authenticity. That's the purpose of the speaking deck. So you're going to go into breakout rooms now. And as I said, your breakout room number is going to be in the document that Sharice is popping into the chat. And that card that's attached to your number is the card that someone that will be the lens through which you in your room are going to view your various crossroads. So the instructions on the screen, but it's also in the document that you'll receive. So you're going to find the card that responds to your breakout room number. You're going to hold present the crossroads which you've just shared with your group, and use the card as a lens through which you're viewing your crossroads. Then somebody in the group can volunteer to read the card out loud. The others really just pay attention and listen and make note of any words or phrases that strike you. And then you want to, and you can hold it up for yourself as you reflect on your crossroads, and then you'll each get a turn to share again. What words or phrases do stand out for you in relation to your crossroads? What does it offer you? Does it offer you a fresh perspective or a fresh insight what would that be? What new actions arise as you reflect from that card, from that lens? You'll have 8 to 10 minutes each to reflect and share. So make sure you allow for equal airtime, and that you can give space, create spaciousness for people to share and to reflect as slowly as they may need to. And if someone's done reflecting before the 8 or 10 minutes are up, ask them what else. Ask them what else is there, and give them space to do that reflection as well. So please do the listening with some presence and appreciation. And if you've got time, you may want to just share an appreciation of each other before we close out the room. So that's really the process you're going to follow in the breakout room with the card that you've received. So the documents in the chat, you're going to go back into your breakout rooms now, and you have 10 minutes each for this. So you're going to be in the breakout for about 30 minutes.
Fantastic. Thanks, Hani. Andrea's asking, can we put the reflection bit in the chat too?
It's in
Okay,
the
so
document.
it's also in the document, Andrea, that you can see on the PDF that's in the chat. Don was resourceful and had a deck of cards for his first round. Don, if you and your partners can have a new cards, possibly come up in your session and see how that goes.
I totally missed
Good.
that. Sorry.
It's okay. No
No
problem.
problem. You
So
don't need
open.
the deck of cards in your breakout room. That was just about you and your crossroads. Now you've got the cards in this document, and there's a sample of the cards in the document, right? You're only going to get to each play with one card, but hopefully when we meet after this, you'll hear different people's experiences and reflections, and you'll get to see some of the other cards in the document itself. So the detailed instructions are on the document. When you find your card, I've put the instructions on every sheet so you don't have to scroll. You can just keep that open at the relevant place for your room. Make sure you're all looking at the same card in your breakout room. Decide who gets to read, and off you go.
Do I need to call out the breakout rooms, or do you see when you go into your room number? Just want to make
I
sure
see it.
I see it.
you can
Okay,
see it.
great.
Okay. So
And
I'm going to
then
open the room.
Charisse will let you know when 10 minutes are up, like we did earlier on. Every 10 minutes, you'll get a reminder so you can switch turns.
Fantastic. Enjoy your cards.
Welcome back, everyone. And again, thank you so much. We had the great privilege of having our own little group in the main room, and having some really deep conversations. I'm hoping that likewise you took the spaciousness of the time allocated to explore your crossroads a little differently. So I'd like to hear some voices now. What was that like for you? Yeah. What struck you, even as you shared and listened, what kind of things open up? I see Don's unmuted and Andrea's unmuted. So please just, when you're ready. Okay. Andrea, you go for it.
Okay, go. Don and I had a great conversation. Yeah. It was kind of where I would label it the peregrinations of ourselves. Like we wandered here and there, and it felt like there was a generous amount of space for it, and also kindness and curiosity. Sort of like a soft focus. So I felt like I certainly experienced being able to meander and, as Don said, ramble a bit and just be with things. So they gave myself time to do those shifts of perspective or consider why I was experiencing a certain thing in a certain way. So yeah. So thank you, Dom, for being such an amazing, compassionate listener, and for Honey for the card. It was lovely. It's really, really helpful.
Thank you. Which card did you get?
We had fear.
I release fear.
I release fear.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. Anyone else? Do you want to share with us? You can just tell us the card you drew and tell us what it was like in the conversation using that lens. Karen.
Me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Thank you for this opportunity. It's very interesting, I have to say. But with our group, our card was I hold space for discovery. And I think depending on the Enneagram type, we chose different words or phrases. So I noticed that a lot. So I'm an Enneagram 7. So for me, I love discovery, I love surprise, I love newness, possibilities, all those words. And then Robin here, where's Robin? His camera's off now, but Robin was sharing, he's a different Enneagram type, and he spoke about something completely different. Robin, where are you? But he
You're talking
spoke
about Rob
about
or Robin? You're talking about me or Robin?
Robin Postel. He came up with I give up the apparent safety of certainty. I mean, I'm just saying completely different. He's an Enneagram 2, 6, 9. So very different depending on what your Enneagram type is. So I thought that was quite interesting. Thank you.
Maybe just for clarity, that was me. It wasn't Robin.
Oh,
Postel.
Robin, sorry, Rob. It's Robin that's off. Sorry, it's Rob McDonald. Sorry, Rob. You can clarify now.
No. I think just to reinforce what you said, it was interesting how it was, I suppose, very obvious in our cases that an Enneagram 7, sort of the first words that were sort of picked up with a possibility of surprise. As an Enneagram 2, 6, 9, the first words I picked up were the apparent state of certainty, apparent safety of certainty. So it was quite a contrast, yeah.
Yeah, and lovely to observe that. Thank you for bringing that in, because we do want to tie it to Enneagram as well, to reflect on, how could you bring that our awareness of Enneagram to the clients in playing even with the cards. And what you did now was quite beautiful in that regard. Just noticing the parts that'll pull us or push us. I used the cards with my husband, and I were in a stalemate on Sunday, and I suggested we drew cards. And we sat with the cards, and all I was present to is how I was resisting the card. The card was, I listen for commitment. And it just showed me how I'm listening for non-commitment. I'm not listening for commitment. And so it was just so interesting to use the mirror that the card also is, of what's sitting over there with you. And that's what I'm hearing in what you, Karen and Rob, are saying, the mirror of the 7, or the mirror of, oh, yeah, certainty is where I'm at, and can I release it? Thank you so much. Who else? What was your card and what showed up? How was it?
I'll share, but Leela, I wonder if you would come off mute and do this with me. Would you do that with me?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Yeah, so we pulled, and Lisa was with us. She had to drop at the top of the hour. We had stillness, to be precise. Yeah, so I listened from stillness. And I think I'll speak, Leela, I think it's really beautiful, actually, like the details of what came through for you. But the thing that is happening for us, I should say, is like we're so overcome with connection, and it happened so quickly that it like dropped. Not that the analytical mind went away, because I think there's a lot of curiosity still around, like, how did that happen? Like, I knew I'm so effective. But there's like such a deep tenderness, I think. And we both have 4 in our trifexes. Mine's my anchor, but it's in Leela's trifex, so that could account for some of it. But we were like kind of just having a love fest around emergent experiences that are real and tender, but it dropped, or either like we had a maturity leap, like a state change, but the depth was so deep, like it dropped us right in. Leela, let me hear how you would say it. Yeah.
Thanks, Shay. Yeah, I don't know what else I could say, but it was just that it. That's it. I was fascinated at the instant connection, and I think with Shay, it was what she was sharing and what I was experiencing through the day, and the resonance of everything was just like what happened. And I think that's what at the end we're like, how did that happen? But it's just the dropping into stillness. That I think I said it created so much spaciousness that actually this emerged, this connection emerged. It was quite beautiful. Yeah, and for me it was a gift also, in the sense that the card actually spoke to a bit of what the word is, a sense of direction towards that crossroad I'm at. And I described it as many crossroads in every moment, basically. And it was about inviting the stillness in at every crossroad and reconnecting to that which matters most and what my focus is. So yeah, it was beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, I think I was very emotional at the end. So was Shay. And I think we just become friends quickly, I think. Thank you. Thanks, Hani.
Thanks so much, Leela and Shay. I really appreciate that. But yes, I've been amazed when I work with teams as well, and people draw a card and they sit together and they talk through. And it's not always a crossroads question. Sometimes I'm just asking, how would this card support you through your day or through your week? And people reflect from there, and it's phenomenal what it does to the trust in the room, that people experience this degree of connection, openness. And then when that's present, it's so much more powerful and so much simpler to start to problem solve together, because we're looking at each other differently. There's a softness to how people are experiencing each other's thinking even. So when we go into the more, the headspace more, people are in a different state. And I found that to be quite a powerful accelerator in the facilitation of how people then connect. Is there anyone else who would like to share on their experience or use of it, or what struck them?
Hani, I'd like to jump in here because of our exercise, and also just, I'm quite happy to get on with my own card reading and, do something if I'm preparing for a meeting or for the day. And I value the impact of the cards, but really seeing the value of being in a kind of a one-on-one session, and that this can be done virtually, it doesn't have to be in person. To hear the other person's reflection as they're holding space was so useful for me, because I pulled the card, I hold connection, and I immediately thought about connection for others, to others, and completely forgot about the self. And that was the coming back home part that really struck me. But also the kind of, I'm quickly to think, oh, I because I'm an Enneagram 5, for example, I don't hold connection. I isolate, I withdraw. But it's a reminder that I also do have the gift of holding connection. So it was just so many things happened in such a small space of time.
Thanks. Thank you, Charisse, for that reflection. And it was so funny because as we were doing that, it was her card actually, and yet I could see how I often am standing in my closet, I'm standing in what I need. I need connection. And there's the Essex instinct of my 4. And I need connection. And I'm not standing in the reality that I also hold connection. So if I'm holding connection, I could invite someone into connection with me. But if I'm standing in I need connection, then I'm standing in connection as elsewhere, and I still need it. I don't really have it. So it was just such an interesting, subtle shift for me to get that awareness, even in Charissa's sharing. So thank you, Cherise, for that. Nazima, thank you. I saw that message. So before people, I see people are, and I know 2 hours is precious time to allocate, but I wanted this to be of value for you personally. But I also want to bring it now to practice as coaches. And that question is, how would you, or how else could you, aside from how it was used here, use these cards or cards like these in your practice? Donna now has a set already. So, and then Leela, I think, also has a set. I'm not sure. Yeah, Leela, you do have a set. And so just to be curious from others as well, what are your thoughts? How could you link this to Enneagram work, to your Enneagram work? We heard from a couple of people noticing, Karen was saying, and Rob, noticing how they read the card through that Enneagram lens. How could you use it to support your clients, whether it's individuals or groups? So what are some of the thoughts that have come up for you so far? Done.
I haven't had this thought until today. Um, so, and it only is emerging now, and Andrea is going to be shocked after we had our conversation. So, Ennea 529, 592, and my card was fear. I released fear. And so fear was sitting there the whole time, and I was dancing around it as I talked with all these vulnerabilities. But we had a lovely, lovely talk. But I'm just sitting here thinking, oh my goodness, if I'm coaching a 5, I won't go randomly through the cards. I'm going to take a couple that, because the power of this process really for me, it's beyond the cards. Is when do we give people 5 or 10 minutes just to speak without interruption? When do we give people time to read something to see what jumps at them? Which is always the power of the invitations. You never know. And I just thought I would love to have someone who I'm coaching with a 5 just sit with this and play with it. So I will use the fear card at some point. But so then now I'm seeing, of course, this could be used all around with all kinds of
Yeah.
things. I'll stop there. It's just a fascinating thought.
That's a lovely one. So there's also a release shame. So if you were sitting with a 3, 4, or a 2, 3, or 4, you could play with the shame part of the Enneagram as well. There's I release perfectionism. It's also sitting in the pack. So there are a few cards that you could bring to particular Enneagram types, and make it less random. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Don. I think that's a great way. And it's not as much on the nose, right? Because the person still has to do their own reflection and hearing and seeing and feeling through what's in this for me. Any
I have
other
a
thoughts?
curiosity.
Yes.
Well, I think I have more, it's a curiosity of how and if you use it this way, but and not having the deck and seeing the full range, but there's something around team development and teams interacting with the different, because they're really like you're pointing to qualities of experience. And so they're not quite values, but there's something around a team interacting in a way that was sequenced that could allow them to see like how do we together collectively relate to these qualities and where I would I don't know, then you could play with it in so many different ways, but maybe some sort of directional, like we're going to, I can see it being state changing moment to moment, but could also be something to say, we get, we have some sort of habit pattern around one of these, and we want to cultivate more of something else. And it could just be like a way to interact and organize experience so the team could collectively decide what it wants to maybe focus on in its own development. That's a curiosity I have.
Yes. And it has, in the ways that I've used it with teams, it's worked very well for that kind of thing. I worked with a learning and development team of probably 13, I think they were 13 learning and development leaders for a large retailer. And we only focused on the listening deck. And it was fascinating for them to explore how limited their practice of listening was. So when we played with 12 types of listening, 12 ways of listening, 12 contexts for listening. So there's a card that says, I listen for gold, or I listen for trust, or I listen for possibility, or I listen with commitment. Or and in those different contexts expands this, there's an expansion of the space to say, oh my word, how else could I listen? Or how have I been listening that I'm not hearing the gold? Right? And so they're those kinds of things that can then become the practice of a team, the ways that we listen. But similarly, one of the teams I've worked with, the team manager purchased a box of cards that she keeps on her desk. And when people come in for their, if people come in with a distress call, the practice is draw a card. And she just gives them 3 minutes to sit there with their card before they start their conversation. And she says she has far less drama in her office than she's ever had before, because that bringing it down, like settling people, giving an access to the inner world and the possibility, is immediately there. And there's a different tone to how they then start the conversation. So that's become a practice in that team, which allows for multiple values and ways of being to be present. So thanks so much, Shay, for sharing that.
Thank you. Thank you, Hani.
Any other thoughts or inputs around that? Because there's also the question of maturity. If people are in the maturity framework, if people are sitting at, let's say, conforming levels, will they find the cards too challenging, or will they find the cards too woo-woo? Do they need to be, or how could they be used powerfully to actually stretch people into a more specializing level, or from specializing to performing? Those are all questions that one could also play with around the maturity framework. How could we, or which suites would we use to support people in navigating, especially when we're looking at the maturity of a particular team, not just the person themselves. So there's room for more exploration on that, of course. But I'm curious, are there any other thoughts, suggestions?
Honey, I think what we did was with the co-facilitators in a session, how as the two co-facilitators, wherever you bring it into the process, where it's before the planning starts or before the actual session starts, when it's perhaps during the debrief, but pulling those cards and supporting again, the open communication, and like what people have shared here, experiencing that openness that's created. And co-facilitating, you get to know each other, the patterns, working with the Enneagram and maturity and all of that. But there's again a something that the card brings in terms of the conversation, flavor that opens something up. And
Yeah, thanks for that, Cherise, because that's precisely, actually, I intended to share something about that. I think it was in June. We were 4 co-facilitators, two in each team with a client, and we met afterwards to do our debrief and to kind of plan the next day. But it was the first time that we decided to draw a card to support us. And what was so interesting was, in drawing the card, it helped us see what we were so focused on what we were bringing to the session during the first day and what the team wasn't showing up as. And the card I drew, for example, was I speak affirmation. And I got that I'd been listening with a bit of a critical ear to the team and their closeness. And I'd been frustrated by them not opening up more. And then I used the card to set my intention for the next day. Like, what if I affirmed even the smallest sharing? What if I affirmed and encouraged and appreciated the smallest way that anybody opens up in the intention that expands it? And it was phenomenal what happened the next day inside of that intention. And my co-facilitator drew a card, I released judgment. This was the night before. And he started getting that part of why he was frustrated with the team was there were several Enneagram 8s in the team, and he's an Enneagram 8. And they were showing up as his shadow side. And so his shadow side just kept coming out to block them. And he saw this judgment when in reading the card, whereas what he saw before was where he needs to move them on the Enneagram. And suddenly he saw his own judgment, and he shared that the next morning with the team. And we had the most powerful day too in the affirmation that was present, and this vulnerability of releasing judgment. And the vulnerability for an 8 set such a standard for the other 8s in the team that we just had an extraordinary day too. So yes, it can be used. He did ask a question though, this co-facilitator of mine, that was an interesting question. He asked whether the card he drew possibly limited our debrief. Did it hold a lens to the extent that it obscured him from seeing other things which may have emerged in our conversation or debrief? And I'm putting it here because I just want to distinguish the intention. You know, when Leela asked and Shay asked, how did that happen so quickly? I really believe it's because of the intention with which the cards were designed. They were designed for connection. They were designed from my own experience and my own craving, maybe, in wanting to allow people to experience our shared humanity, to experience our sameness and the connection of that. And so, again, I think that how we intend to use or receive the cards are also important in framing it with our clients and with our colleagues. So, so yeah, thanks, Cherise, for reminding me of that possibility. I think we can, John, you want to add something?
Yeah, it's a fuzzy thing that I just want to bring it here. So the cards, I've played with these cards a bit, with archetype cards, I do soul collage cards, and different groups of people will, in different settings, draw a card to get insights. And I'm just starting to see that one of the things these cards do is somehow help us tap an inner authenticity or an inner something. And I think you're spot on with intention, but I also think there's a control thing, or there's a structured way of doing things, and just allowing a allowing a random thing that helps us then tap something authentic that we weren't seeing. So I don't want to go any further than that, but I'm just all of a sudden seeing a connection, but I could also see it blowing up, and it's like, that's my control-oriented self. But anyway, thank you for naming the intentionality. But all these things are inviting us to something deeper, some deep, authentic something. Anyway, I'll stop there.
Very powerful, Don. Thank you. You're quite right. So always when I use the cards in person, and even if it's virtually, and I actually have a card deck with me, which I always do keep at my side, I invite people to set that intention first. And that's what we started off today as well, to set the intention and to open oneself up to receiving and expanding. And I think that is so important when we talk about the fast-paced world we're in. I don't think we take enough time to be intentional. We get through stuff, we plan, and it's not the same as really being present to setting a particular intention to how we're going to show up and how we're going to engage and what we're going to be open to. But I do believe it makes a profound difference because it's part of presencing ourselves. And presence is one of our superpowers that we most neglect, probably. So, so I think maybe it's time for us to do a checkout round. And I'd maybe just like each person to take a turn to unmute themselves and share, what are you leaving with that you didn't have when you stepped in, maybe? And Cherise will drop the link in the chat, and I think you received it in your emails as well. So if you would like to purchase the card, they're available on my website. For distribution in South Africa, I don't have an access to distributing abroad, but if anybody has a great idea for how I can do that, I'm very open to hearing from you about that. So let's start with a checkout run, and anyone can go first, and we can hear from you. What are you leaving with that you didn't arrive with, maybe?
I allow myself to jump first because I am in Portugal, South Europe. So I even was not able to access the link. Eventually, it's an issue with my computer and the firewall. Anyway, I want to thank you because I got so many insights. I was in the breakout room with Chidi. Thank you so much also for your contributions and allowing me to be listened and to share. But yeah, I found beautifully the way you started the session, so it touched me profoundly. And the cards, I'm really curious. I wish I can somehow find a way to buy them. The card that we got was the number 5, old likeness, and yes, a lot of insights, and so I'm very grateful for this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. You're welcome. Anna, you get to pass the ball to someone else to go.
Yeah. Well, I pass the ball I to Joe.
Thank you. You can unmute, Joe.
There you go. I was already starting to buy my set of cards. So, I think as corny as this might seem, but I just walk away with the connection to the 2 people that I spoke to in my room, because we straight away overlapped with some common ground around our crossroads. And I just really enjoyed that with the lens of the cards. So just an unexpected connection this afternoon, which I came to hear about the cards, and I walk away with a connection. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks, Joe. Yes, it's just lovely to know we're not actually experiencing these things alone. Someone else is navigating something similar. Who do you pass the ball to, Joe?
I think I pass it on to Tsidi. I wanted to say hi to you, Tsidi. So hi, Tsidi.
I somehow suspected you're going to pass it to me.
Good.
But yeah, it's just like you as well. I feel I had such a lovely connection with my partner Anna, and then that's what the cards did. And already yeah, I'm also needing, with all the sessions that are coming ahead, Joe, that the cards will be quite useful in those sessions. And I pass it on to Dawn.
Thanks, Chidi.
Yeah, many things, but a couple. I've just felt so held by Andrea, so that was just a great gift to connect with the cards and with conversations. But Hani, what really, what you're reminding me is what happens when we unleash our gifts on the world. So it's you've unleashed a powerful gift on the world, but it's an encouragement to me of things I'm wanting to unleash. So what you've done is powerful. Thank you.
Thank you. And you know what? I think I need to credit Don. So I did Don's course, which is the Artist's Way for Coaches in 2023. And in 2023, this card deck was sitting on my computer for 6 years already. And in the stimulation of Don's course, I got the encouragement and the impetus to say, no, I will share this with the world. And here we are sitting in a global conversation about these cards. So Don, back at you. Thank you for unleashing your gift on the world and creating the space. And if you haven't done Don's course yet, you need to register for it. It's a deep dive into exploring creativity in such a broad and meaningful way. So thanks, Don. Would you pass the ball to Don?
Andrea.
Hello. Thank you so much, Hani, and yeah, and everyone else who's come to. I just love Aephoria sessions, and I'm a super fan. And then today, I also like Don. I love playing with card decks, and this one felt like a good one. So thank you. It's such a support and an aid to deeper reflection, and this is what it did for me. Yeah, and it just felt like being held in a soft glow with Don. So I'm sure that his his course is going to be pretty amazing. And look what it did. Look what it did create. So yeah, it's just for me just a gratitude. I'm leaving with gratitude and yeah, a heart even more full than it was before, which is always so lovely to feel. So thank you.
Thanks so much. Would you pass on to Andrea?
I'm going to pass on to Viviana. I don't think Viviana.
Thank you, Andrea. Well, the universe knows what we need because I arrived late to the party and I had the privilege and blessed to have the 1-1 or 2-1 with Cherise and Hani. And it was just reinforcing, that whatever unfolds in front of you, it's the way you have to go. So thank you for allowing me to come late and also go through the connection. Thank you. Very appreciative.
Thanks, Viviana. Lovely having you. Who would you pass on to?
I would pass to Chia, if I pronounce correctly your name. Sorry.
It's fine. It's totally fine. It's a funny name. It's Irish Shay. I'm just, yeah, like so many of you, I'm feeling so full and bright and grateful. And I think the takeaway is like how simple it can be in some ways, like how simple connecting can be. I hope you'll make the card, you'll find that way through our new geopolitical economic systems to get it outside of South Africa. Until I can get there myself. But yeah, I just am super like tender. I feel tender. I'm a 4s loud today, and yeah, grateful, tender, and I'm gonna pass it to Leela.
Thanks, Shay.
Thanks, Shay. I am so grateful for taking time out to be here. And yeah, thank you, Hani, for these beautiful gifts. And yeah, walking away with having made a new friend. And I think the heartfulness that I'm sitting with here is, yeah, it's huge. So the simplicity yet profound way that the card connects is interesting. I love that. Thank you. And also am walking away with the invitation to myself to listen from stillness at every crossroad. So I thank you.
Thank you, Leela. And it's just so beautiful to share space with you again. We've missed each other for a while, but it's always lovely to have you here. Thank you. Would you pass to Leela? I think we've got a few people still left.
Yeah.
The other Rob
Rob.
dropped.
Rob, is Rob spoken yet? No,
Rob and Karen.
Okay, shall I go? Is it so?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so yeah, firstly, just sort of great appreciation and admiration, Hani, for the work you've done. I think it's incredible. And that does resonate with me, the idea of something sitting on a computer for 6 years. So even more inspiration there. Yeah, I think what I take away with me is the phrase apparent safety of certainty. which really resonated with me. And then the idea of creating space for discovery, and how important that is. And so thank you. This has been an amazing 2 hours of discovery for me, and been wonderful. So thank you very much.
Thanks to you. Thanks to you, Rob. Appreciation. Karen, I think you're next.
Sorry, my laptop died, so I've got my phone. Just want to say thank you to you, Hani, for just holding the space so beautifully and for this beautifully designed session. And also for these cards, just for inventing them. I mean, it's incredible. And I think that the way that they connected us, just Rob was in my group and Robin, who's had to leave, but just how the cards, well, the card we had, which was the discovery one, but how it just connected us was very interesting. And I think it can be a really useful tool. So thank you very much for introducing us to an exciting new tool, and well done, Hani. Thank you.
Thanks to all of you. Deep appreciation for bringing your whole selves, because had you not been willing to be courageous and vulnerable in your breakout rooms, we won't have the impact of the cards. So I'm deeply grateful for that. And then to Charisse and Aephoria for creating the space for me to share this. It's been something I'm wanting more people to taste and feel and experience. And being an Enneagram 4, I don't do a lot of marketing. So this was a lovely way to do what I usually do and share it with the world in a meaningful way. Charisse, thank you so much.
Thanks, Hani. And I would just recall how we were trying to figure out how does one do this online? How's this going to work? And you finally got there. And I think it's so beautiful to see the outcome and how it's come together. So thank you for your time, Hani, and thank you for the session. I was so looking forward to it. And thank you for everyone being here and playing with us. And I mean, the playing leading to such beautiful, deep connection and awareness and insights. You know, so true to the topic. What can happen, when you have a deck of cards at hand? So thank you for being open and curious. And I look forward to seeing you at our next session. It's going to be on 19 August. More will come from us in terms of just talking about the topic. It's the 10 permissions. More on that to come. And yeah, wishing you a lovely evening further or a lovely day wherever you are. And yeah, if you want to come off your mute button and just say goodbye, and see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.